Bases dropped on Soccer's morning show. John here, Jarrett there. And good morning to each and every one of you. It is a new week here at SDH. And no dilly, no dally. Opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And once again, Kickoff Coffee CO on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram with our friends at Kickoff Coffee. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. Thanks to all of you who have. And you get 15% off of your purchases when it comes to everything Kickoff Coffee. And they, in turn, take 10% reinvested into the youth game at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. But the reason, Jarrett, I am not wasting any time when it comes to no dilly, no dally. We're in a no dilly, no dally zone this morning. It's the banner that I'm trying to create here on short notice. And yeah, we're going to scroll it across the bottom because we can add a banner. And let's see if it works. Maybe if we showed it. There we go. Happy birthday to us. 6 years ago today, we had our first show. And so season 7 officially starts today. So congratulations. And happy birthday, Jarrett.
Yeah, man, it's been going for a minute, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
And Coco just chose violence off the top. Happy Cowboys lost Monday.
Yes.
Jesus.
Yeah, I know. Well,
we can talk. I mean, look, we can. That's good morning from the top of the league. Y'all chose violence today, so I like all y'all.
Yes,
y'all chose violence to start the day off right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have to ask Bart later this week. At what point do you not worry about the other shoe dropping because Arsenal just looks good?
Yeah.
And as someone pointed out, they built their this attack spending like $35 million in total, including 2 people out of the academy. Odegaard was the big purchase, and really he had kind of been a disappointment in his career because he went to Real Madrid at 16, 15?
Yeah, he was like 4 years old.
Dude has been in his bag for an extended period of time. As far as American sports goes, yeah. Look, we can have I could take an entire show discussing the last play from the Cowboys game because it was absolutely flawless. First of all, the concept isn't even terrible. Like, the idea of, hey, we're just going to put a bunch of skill players on the field. Great.
Yeah, I figured an A11 was what McCarthy was going for.
Yeah, but Ezekiel Elliott snapping the ball and the linebacker on the field hesitating for a half second before realizing that coaches are galaxy braining this. If I just kill Ezekiel Elliott, the entire thing falls apart, and it did, because in the moment of Zeke backpedaling and getting trucked, Dak kind of went, damn, that wasn't part of the plan.
No.
Because again, coaches galaxy brain this. Brandon Michael has said many times, football is easy. Coaches make it hard.
Mm-hmm.
The coaches galaxy brained themselves into that. And Mark McCarthy having a job walking up the field was amazing to me. Yeah. I was amazed that he had a job walking up that field.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. Thank you guys for the violence this morning. And yeah, it's been a long time we've been doing this, and it's diversified and the show's changed, and yeah, having the Discord makes it easy and fun for things to change as well, where we can complain about other sports and other things. And it's nice to have all that interaction with y'all. We appreciate it. It does mean a lot.
And I did the math, and coming all the way back from our days at our previous home. And
Bart says he's going to live in the moment.
Okay, nothing wrong with that. Oh, we got hey, happy birthday to us. We got a bot. There you go. Yeah,
it's like sometimes it's like it never left.
No, absolutely not. I did the math.
Long form bot too. Good God.
I know, really. And back to our days when Rusty would crash the audio board, and I would continue answering the phone. And that.
Well.
And here's the math, and it's I'm going to round off, but in our 6 seasons of Soccer's morning show, and we have all of you guys to thank. Everything 6 years of being a network, we have over 2.5 million lives and downloads in our first 6 years with all of the content that we've done, the morning show, SOT, the 1v1s, the live programming, the high school games of the week. So in our first 6 seasons, over 2.5 million lives and downloads, and we have all of you to thank. And it took me a while to do that math. So hooray for me for doing math. But no, thanks to all of you guys for being a part of the network for the 6 seasons that we've been up and running. And as we start season 7 today with Soccer's Morning Show, you chose violence. And we're glad you did.
That's why we like you here. You're always welcome to come here and choose violence. No one's ever mad about that.
Yes.
Always choose violence.
Yes. And so, we look at I guess
Rack, I'm so happy you got to just literally watch that right now. Because it like every show is someone's first. Every time seeing a stupid play is someone's first, and it's always my favorite because I remember watching it live thinking, I see what they're doing. And someone pointed out, like, the whole idea was to throw that little hitch route and then try and suck the defense in and throw it out wide to the left side.
Yeah.
Where there were 2 blockers.
I think that's what the idea was with Cavante Turpin, is that you throw it to Turpin. Turpin finds out who's open, and it might have been, in a perfect world, Ezekiel Elliott.
So I think he was going to go out to the play left, like to camera side, left side. Because there was a run. There were 2 linemen on the field for some ungodly reason. I don't know why you wouldn't use tight ends just to maximize your athletes on the field. 2 linemen on the field in front of it. I think it was CD Lamb. And I think the idea was to get it out to Lamb and have 2 blockers and just see what the hell happens. But, the throw was off target because everything Dak threw was off target all night.
Yes.
I just love the fact that that Mike McCarthy was like, we're going to do all of this stuff. And then Kyle Shanahan and his staff and his players just
D'Amico Ryans, man.
With D'Amico Ryans, who should be getting interviews for a head coaching gig.
He should be getting a head coaching gig. Yeah.
He should. Yeah. I don't know if he's even being interviewed. Even as like the Joe Rooney rule person. Yeah. That Keith Armstrong used to be around the league.
Yeah.
But D'Amico Ryans and the players and the staff just literally pulled out Occam's razor and just cut the whole damn play down. It was beautiful.
It just blew it up, and we were all looking at each other, going, "What the ish was that?"
Yeah. As far as soccer things, great.
Well, let me tag the segment because it's
okay. Go ahead. We'll get to you in just a second, Doggo.
Yeah. So let me see if I can find it. Here we go. Okay. QR code. That's the opening kickoff. Happy birthday to us in the network here at SDH. And there's your QR code for those of you watching live on Twitch, Kickoff Coffee CO, kickoffcoffeeco.com, Kickoff Coffee CO, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Don't forget to use the code Soccer down here 15 for anything that Kickoff Coffee has that you would like to have early, unless you're like a coffee drinker at all hours of the day, like our boy Nico, like our friend Nico Moreno is. And you can do it at any particular time. But once again, use the code Soccer down here 15. You get 15% off. Reinvest 10% in the youth game. Our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Okay, we got stuff, and it's a Monday. And we are waiting, and Ropes and Tom Russo, I think, pretty much can cover their ears. We are waiting for, I guess, the impending sacking of Frank Lampard at Everton. He did not get the vote of confidence from his owner over the weekend. They lose to West Ham in what I initially thought was going to be a 1-1 draw because neither team has impressed, but a Jared Bowen double has created some space. Everton is still in the relegation zone, and it looks like Everton is going to be sacking Frank Lampard. So my follow-up question of the day is, for those of you who are Evertonians, who would you bring in? Would you let Big Dunk? Yeah, would you let Big Dunk just go ahead and do the rest of the season? Do you bring in Rafa Benitez? Do you bring in a big name to sign him to an X plus a half a year deal? That's my question, but it looks like we are waiting for Frank Lampard to be sacked after a loss to West Ham over the weekend. So that's probably the biggest thing out there when it comes to the Premier League. We've got that. Jarrett, I know that we had some movement in Scotland involving Celtic. Celtic brings in a player. They brought in I think for $2.5 million from South Korea. And how does all of this work forward when we're talking about Giacomakis and all of that? And there's also another MLS team that got involved, which was interesting too. We'll get into that. But
Yeah,
what's your look?
So O's coming in. Celtic got their South Korean striker. I think they're spending $2 million on him. That Giacomakis was going to leave. This just makes it easier for hopefully the timeline to move up. Hopefully you get some movement this week. Red Diamonds in Japan, I think, are still kind of viewed as the leaders in the clubhouse. Whether or not he goes there, whether or not he comes to MLS, I know Atlanta was talked about previously.
Yeah.
And then there was the article from the Scotsman that mentioned Minnesota. Now, here's the thing we got to remember about bidding MLS. You still, despite allocation order disappearing, you still have discovery rights. They still exist. Now, discovery rights get bought and sold literally all the time. When a team wants to bring someone in, they buy the discovery rights from another team. It usually costs a certain amount of GAM, whatever it may be. It's usually not a crippling amount. So basically, you reach out to that team who has the discovery rights, and what it does is it keeps MLS teams from bidding against each other and driving the price up on each other. So there's no telling who has the discovery rights. We don't really know unless somebody says so, and I don't know if they keep a sheet somewhere or if they keep it locked in a vault somewhere in Fort Knox where they take multiple keys and iris scans to open it up.
That's what I'm thinking.
But you're not going to have multiple teams bidding in that sense. So you might have agents offering players to teams. You might have agents floating stuff because they want to drive up the price. All of these are things that happen. God knows we have seen it with Atlanta's transfer sagas in the past. You get agents, they start floating other teams. They offer players to teams, try to drive the price up, try and maximize the revenue for everyone involved on the player side. Haven't seen anything else about Minnesota. Haven't seen anything else about Atlanta. We're still just kind of in a holding pattern with it. No clue on Giacomakis, honestly, at this point. I'm waiting to see if anything pops up. As far as the questions people had, let me see actually if anything has broken. Nope, I haven't seen anything yet. And so you're at this point, you're just kind of waiting to see. But yeah, you're not going to get. Coco, I hope to God a discovery of rights list exists. I hope it is a real thing.
Yes.
I hope it is. I hope it is held in the Ark of the Covenant, and someone has to open it and not look in the process, like the end of the first Indiana Jones movie, so they don't melt into a liquid skeleton. But you're not going to get like, it's the same thing with the Albert Ellis rumor. Which, if you're just catching up on that one, again, every news story is somebody's first. There were reports out of France that Albert Ellis, formerly of the Houston Dynamo, is being courted by multiple MLS teams. Well, you're not going to get 3 MLS teams in a bidding war because it takes somebody having the discovery rights. Now, could they all be reaching out and showing interest? Yeah, sure. But, they're not all 3 going to be entering conversations with the club on, bidding wars for the transfer fee. Only one of them can. Also, it's I think it's still an unspoken rule. I don't think it's a hard and fast rule that, almost like a gentleman's agreement of you don't sit on discovery rights if you're not using them. So, for instance, let's say, in Houston would be a candidate to bring Elise back. He's still 26 years old. I would love if Albert Elise is in the Atlanta crosshairs. That'd be amazing. He is an absolute pain in the ass to play against. He is fast. He is very big and strong. Can play out wide, right, or striker, either one. Let's say I think he'd be a good spot for Houston, but let's say for this analogy that Houston was not interested in him. If Houston had the discovery rights, he was transferred out, so I don't think they do. But let's say they did. Let's say, I don't know, San Jose. San Jose Quakes decided they wanted to get him. Houston, who didn't want to get him, cannot squat on the rights and refuse to move the rights. They can request a bid within reason that a team like San Jose or whoever the hell wanted him would have to meet to get those discovery rights. If you want to come up with a more streamlined, smoother way for MLS clubs to do this without having them outbid each other and drive up the price on each other like it's a game of Monopoly, you are more than welcome to. As it stands, this is the way it happens. So,
yes.
The upshot to all of this is no, there hasn't been any word on Giakoumakis that I've seen from reliable sources. Haven't seen anything either on Albert Elise. But just that's the idea of it, is you're really only going to get one team deep into the team negotiations at a time. They can be reaching out to agents and getting an idea of salary. That's a separate thing than negotiating your transfer fee. But you're only going to get one team at a time for that. Now, theoretically, you could have, Rock, I would be very happy with Albert Elise.
Yes.
I would be very happy with Albert Elise. You could have situations where a team enters negotiations, doesn't like it, they back out, and another team jumps in. Totally possible that happens, but you're generally not going to get multiple teams, at the same time. It might be agents offering players to multiple teams, that sort of thing. This takes us to the next question that I've seen a couple times this morning. I wanted to get Doggo mentioned it, and I want to scroll back and do it because while you were reading that, he did ask a question. I think we'll hear incoming players for Atlanta United today. I have no idea. As Will says, crossing your toes, fingers, etc. What's the date? It is the 23rd. You still have a number of days left until the end of the window. I would be very interested to see what they do before the end of that window. I know Gonzalo Pineda had mentioned 3 signings coming in. Have not heard anything beyond that until the end of the window. I don't know. Stuff gets hung up. As much as we're, I think, used to hearing the South America stuff, like remember the watches we've had the last few years, you have the agents and the reporters so locked in South America. I don't know we have that in Europe in the same way. Fabrizio Romano is probably the closest we got to it, but it doesn't. It's not as long and drawn out of a process as we're used to seeing. And what the Luis Araujo thing taught us a couple of years ago was it can be harder for us sometimes to get those reports out of Europe. And Atlanta might be running with Garth Lagerwey as the CEO and taking over in that role, overseeing anything, not necessarily as the technical director, but as a higher role. He might have decided to go full Danny Ferry and Team No Leaks, where we might not hear about it until it happens. Whether or not there was anything to Giakoumakis, no clue. Whether or not there was anything to the South Korean striker, whose name I forget, and I apologize, who I think was at Wolves and then on loan with somebody else. No clue. Could it be one of them? Maybe. Could it be other moves? For another, I would love to see them get another center back. I know Collins moving over to Europe was unfortunate because you would love to have gotten Alexander Collins here. Love to see them get another center back. Interested to see if they want to get another midfielder. And, striker, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
There's a non-zero chance if you're going to go through Europe, though, that we don't hear about that till the 11th hour, because that seems to be the way it's going with the transfers from Europe versus what we're used to from South America.
Yes.
It's different, and we just might not have our ears to the ground in the right direction.
Yep. The other element in all of this, and it was something that I want to say it was Rack brought in, remember a couple days ago, and then once again, this is what happens when the show goes off the air. Morning show goes off the air. Ish happens.
Oh, it always happens. It's written in the stars.
MLS announced the allocation order is no longer in effect because St. Louis City lost that, and this is Tommy Scoops, Tom Bogert's way that he phrased it. Due to St. Louis City losing out on the asset that was the top spot in the allocation order, they will retain first refusal over one player of their choosing who was on the allocation ranking list. So there you go. And then the question is, and it was brought up by Bogert at the time, could it have been FC Cincinnati that killed the allocation order with the Matt Miazga deal back in August? And so acquire $350 in Gammon add-ons in 3 trades to move to from number 1 to number 2. They signed Matt Miazga in the expansion season. They threw in the number 1 spot on top of $300,000 in Garber bucks in a trade for Nick Haglund. So maybe FC Cincinnati were the ones that you can sit there and point your finger at about the allocation order no longer existing. So
maybe, and they may have just decided, hey, we're going to be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like they may have just decided like we don't need this anymore, and we're past it as a league. I don't know. I don't know what the game plan was with that. I don't know what the thought process was with that. And Josh Sargent isn't about to come to MLS. I don't think. That'd be wild if he did. But
if you're St. Louis City,
you're putting that card in your back pocket because it's one of your favorite sons.
mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
That's the guy that you want to sit there and in your get out of jail free card in your MLS Monopoly game. And you want to sit there and it's like, okay, our number one is Josh Sargent, and bang. So that's, if you're St. Louis City SC, then that's probably the direction you're going. And by the way, programming note, later today we're catching up with Indiana Vassilev, new transaction for St. Louis City SC. And so he'll be a 1v1, and that'll be released later on this afternoon. So we'll catch up with life in St. Louis City SC with Indiana Vassilev, the pride of Savannah, Georgia, and Aston Villa, and Inter Miami, and a bunch of other places. So we'll catch up with Indy and find out what's going on with him now that he's part of building something out there in St. Louis. But
yes, David, going full Danny Ferry in the other direction would be very bad because that I don't know if that ended his career outright. I think he still is involved. Is he out in Salt Lake?
Let's effort that.
I think he might be out in Salt Lake.
Let's see if Daniel John Willard Ferry is employed at the moment.
But yeah, he made some comments about Luol Deng that got out that again, and this is the we'll take it all the way back to Gio Reyna and Greg Berhalter. You don't say stupid things even if you think you're in private because they can get out and then just don't say stupid things. And don't say really inappropriate things.
No,
which is what Danny Ferry did. Because Gio Reyna stuck his fingers in his ears this week, and apparently for a lot of people, Gio Reyna sticking fingers in his ear this week, was great and made it. I guess everything that happened, all the petulance and whatnot at the World Cup isn't a big deal.
Yeah.
Look, again, not everything is black and white in sports. Everybody here has made really dumb decisions. The Reyna family, Berhalter, all of you have made some incredibly dumb decisions, but the anti-Berhalter toxicity that is counterweighted by putting Gio Reyna on a pedestal is insanely cartoonish sometimes. I swear to God it is.
Mm-hmm. And yeah,
it's a beautiful goal, by the way.
Oh, it's
tremendous. You hang it in the Louvre. I don't care. Hang it at the High Museum.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to put him on a pedestal because he still acted like a petulant little kid at the World Cup.
Correct.
Did he turn it around? Absolutely. He did the mature thing, and he did a great job for it. I do feel bad for him still for getting in all of this, assuming it's his parents acting without him commanding them to do stuff, that sort of thing. His parents are just being soccer parents. I do feel bad for him.
Yeah.
I think my favorite question was somebody asked, what if the fingers in the ear thing was for his parents? What if he's just not listening to them now?
There you go. That was a choice that, yes, and to Bart's point, it's possible that Gio celebrated a goal with a popular celebration right there, seeing as multiple players did the same thing after scoring big goals this weekend.
Yeah.
And by the way, note on Olivier Giroud, his World Cup jersey worn against
sexy goals.
Yeah,
as everyone keeps telling me.
His World Cup jersey worn against England to be auctioned off for charity in order to fund research on CF. Brittany charity MUCO29 is going to auction the jersey worn by Giroud on eBay, according to a report from West France. And auctioned for only 7 days. Last year, they collected €6,700 with an auction of Mbappe's match-worn French jersey against Belgium in the Nations League semi. And since their inception 25 years ago, they've collected more than €1 million for research on CF. And so, according to our friends at Get Football News France, Mr. Sexy Goals, his jersey is going on the charity block. So MUCO29 for a charity for CF. So keep an eye on that and make sure that you have either a high credit limit on your credit card or you have a lot of disposable income that you can.
Yeah, either one.
and make an early donation, get an early write-off on your taxes here in 2023. But yeah, so a lot of folks have a lot of stuff that they had on their mind this morning. So let's see. D. Graham, allegedly San Jose is trying to bring back Carlos Gruezo, who they supposedly have discovery rights on, but not number one in the allocation order. So
you don't have to worry about an allocation order anymore.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so if you turn it into the Wild West, who's interested in so-and-so? Me. Okay, what's it worth to you? And then it continues to work its way up from there. Let's see. What else is on folks' minds this morning before we get into other stuff? Like I said, we got the Premier League to talk about. We've got the silliness of Erling Haaland. And last time I heard, he's very good at the soccering.
Apparently he's really good. And I guess, like, are we still doing this thing where it's like, well, can he do it in England? Yeah, I think he's okay. I think he's got it, guys. I think he's figured out how to soccer in England.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about this Erling Haaland kid. I don't know if he can. I don't know if he can handle the football of the Premier League. I feel like Stewie all of a sudden. Can he handle the Premier League? I'm thinking he can. So, all right. So we're looking at 25 goals from Erling Haaland. 25 of the team's 53. Now that we're going in this direction, more goals than Chelsea, Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest, West Ham, Wolves, Bournemouth, Everton, Southampton. He's got more goals himself than 9 teams in the Premier League. 9 teams.
Mm-hmm.
So, last time I checked, I think he's okay at this sport. And oh God, it's so frustrating when you have guys who sit there and they have these outlandish opinions without any basis in fact, but they're stuck in stereotype, and it's not going to keep them from continuing to say those kinds of things. But sure enough, and I just giggle. I literally, when Erling Haaland scores, I giggle now. Literally, that's all I do, because it's proving all of these numpties wrong. And more goals than 9 teams in the Premier League. So Erling Haaland would be 10th in the Premier League with goals. In that goals for column for teams, Erling Haaland would be 10th. Geniuses or 11th, whatever.
This reminds me of there was a stretch in 2018 where Joseph Martinez at his peak had outscored, I think it was DC United.
Yes, that is true.
Like Joseph, it was like at one point in 2018, and this obviously didn't hold up because he was his rate was like DC started actually scoring goals. There was one point in 2018 where Joseph had like 27 goals at a certain point, and when you snapshotted it, like DC had like 25 goals or 24 goals on the season.
That's true.
A player outscoring an entire team is never not hilarious.
and having a guy outscore 9.
Yeah.
If it's never not hilarious for one, what's 9? Astronomically funny?
It's. I think part of it for me is the fact that England is so much of have versus have not.
Yeah.
Like, aside from your big 6, like, there's a lot of teams in England that just kind of yo-yo back and forth or kind of sit on the bottom end of the table. And what are they? They're hoping for one magical. You're hoping to have your own Leicester moment, which probably isn't going to happen.
Yeah. But that's not going to stop you from thinking about having a Leicester moment. Hey, they did it. We can too. And now you see where Leicester is right now with their finances and borrowing against future TV earnings to try to make sure that things get paid and things like that. And so you got to keep an eye on that kind of stuff. Burn, yes, the plan is to have Bart on later this week. I think what we are settling on here on a weekly basis is that Bart is a part of the Wednesday cavalcade. And so it would be Dylan and Bart on Wednesdays as we roll into the season. So we'll keep an eye on that. But I think that's what the plan is, because in the real world, we have to kind of figure out, okay, real world versus us, and what works for folks who are multitasking like Jarrett and like Bart, and what time of the day works for them to come in and do their thing and hang out and yell. So, yes, the plan is to have Bart on later in the week, and that way he can also sip on his morning coffee with his Arsenal mug, as he always greeted us from the top of the league this morning. So,
well, I mean, it's when he's in a good mood. When he wants to get somber, he breaks out the West Virginia mug.
that's true. Oh, yeah, we got to keep an eye on that.
Bob Huggins.
Yeah, Thuggy Bear, you know it. Oh, David, no, I never settle. No question for that. No, that's never settled. Never. And thanks to everybody for the birthday wishes. Kefsey dropped the cake. He apologizes. Rack, no cupcake. I'm trying to think if we have anything in the kitchen, because we got back yesterday from Hemingway Estates for the week plus that we were there. Now we're back here at Office HD. Yes. Oh, and Kefsey's probably correct that the cupcakes exploded because I refused salt.
Yes.
So we'll keep an eye on that. Bart, that's a question, and Bart and Abby, that's a question for Scott Flood. Yeah, where is the birthday party? Let's see. All right, so there was the bot, and let's see what else is on. Yeah, Burn. The plan is to do high school games. We're trying to orchestrate the schedule now, and in addition to the weekly high school show that we'll have here on the network to do games during the week, and get into the sprint that is the region play and getting into all that kind of stuff. But when we have the schedule, obviously we'll let you know, and it'll be games here, and then we'll let you know where we are, and it'll be fun again. It was fun to do those games last year, even when we were freezing out in the cold at Maynard Jackson High School. That was fun. Emilio, I know that you're nothing wrong with choosing violence and picking your spot. Nothing wrong with that. And we know that Will is just here for the good time. Let's see. Rack, in all seriousness, what players are out there that you'd be genuinely excited if we sign? Giroux was part of that discussion.
Giroux, Albert Elise.
Yeah.
I'd be fine with Yakimakis. And people had this question last week of do you take somebody potentially on loan and save the big possible DP signing for the summer?
Yeah, because Byrne mentions Garth. Didn't Garth say that incoming striker would be a loan only because they need to slap a DP tag on one of the loaned out players, whether it's Moreno or Barco?
Yeah, I got to go back and listen to that, because I've seen that talked about, and I saw the article, and I think you talked to Doug about it, I believe. I got to go back and listen to it just because I want to hear the context of it.
Yeah, but to the point that was made, and Rack reminded us, this was buying out Joseph to free up a DP.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. And then folks are asking about the window. The European transfer market, which is the one that a lot of folks are attached to right now, that's the one that is ending at the end of January. And so you're not limited to South America after January 31st, but you can also pick up folks on freeze after January 31st. So I'll check the universal transfer windows here and figure out where else folks can look.
Yeah, so I mean, I have no idea. Like, it's especially if they're looking in Europe. I have no idea how to even begin to think like, oh, this is what they'll do. Like, dude, I don't know, man. I'm already confused by what they may or may not do.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know where they're shopping.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like you can be done with Europe, but then there are other nations that are open. I think the Turkish window, I think it's a little longer. There are some other South American windows that are later, and it's by a couple of weeks. I think there's one window that is middle. I mean, that is like March. I think that's the Turkish window. I think Ukraine and Russia are two other windows that are down the line in the calendar past January 31st. So you have other places, but then there's the idea of picking up an individual on a free, and that's another way of going about something. So just because it's I know that we're all locked into the European transfer window, but there are other places that you can go. I think Portugal might be another week, and I think that Turkey is another month, and there are some that are out there that have different dates when it comes to being locked in past January 31st. So keep an eye on freeze, and also keep an eye on loans and things like that. So there are other countries out there just past that are past the European window.
Yeah, we'll just we'll just have to see like how the window unfolds at this point. Let's see. I mean, and I get like to have these conversations with people. Like, yeah, I'm anxious for them to do something too, because you're towards the end of the window. We know now that they're going to do what they did last year and take a trip out to, it sounds like, down to Mexico.
Yes.
So you got the friendly coming up against Chattanooga this week. Then they've got the trip to Mexico. I don't think it would be a bad thing if you're able to make some moves and guys can join you in Mexico. But yeah, you'd love to get some stuff done quickly. Just because you are getting towards the end of the window. And yeah, Garth Lagerway's always been a guy who's very much, and it's a different role for him. Like, we got to drill that home too, that like, it's a bigger role here than it was in Seattle. He was more, technical director, general manager in Seattle.
Yeah.
Whereas here it's more, president.
Yeah, it's more business stuff.
Yeah, this is more like he has final say on things, but he's not acting as the technical director here. You still have guys like Carlos Bocanegra in position where they are as technical director. So like, I feel like sometimes we got to drill that home, that like he didn't come here just to be the technical director or the GM. It is a step up. Mm-hmm. That's one of the appeals, I think, of the Atlanta gig, was probably first a yacht full of money, and then second, it's a challenge to come in and try and find success in an even bigger role. But he has never been shy about those summer signings, and they have led to some Zombie Sounders moments. And while you don't want to deal with the first half of what creates a Zombie Sounders moment, you'd love the second half of it.
Yes.
But, yeah. Well, we got a week left. Just have to see. I mean, stuff has literally come out of the ether that we have latched onto. Mm-hmm. It could come out of the ether again, and we might not hear about it till it's happening.
Yeah.
Ugh, no way to know.
Yeah. So keep an eye on all that stuff. But once again, as we always tell you,
Giroud doesn't know what's best for him. Tell him not to stay in Milan. I'd argued for years that Giroud should have gone to Montreal.
Yes.
Giroud in Montreal would have been a hit. Man, would have been a king.
Yes.
I mean, Quebec already doesn't recognize the rest of Canada. Probably doesn't even want to recognize the crown.
Yeah.
Just let him be their king.
Yes. And as we're kind of in the Premier League discussion, Mikel Arteta is the real thing from Bern, able to control the sporting director and get signings that fit his playing idea. That was the key thing, that and the patience they all showed. Patience. And Bart is enjoying the patience. Yeah, well, actually, and OG is wondering if I should have a gamey muffin this morning.
Get a Walmart muffin like you did that time. That was so bad that Mike actually had to like stop what he was doing, and Nick and Mike both had to call in and have an intervention.
No, of course,
just see that.
Well, now that we're officially back from Hemingway Estates and got back late yesterday afternoon, we actually have to shop. And yesterday, as a part of shopping, driving back from the Gulf of Mexico, we had to stop at Buc-ee's. We had to absolutely stop at Buc-ee's. And we got brisket, pulled pork.
What sort of endangered animal turkey did you find?
Oh, see, I I'm not the endangered animal jerky type. But what I do get for the boss is the jalapeno peanut brittle.
Okay.
Because she's wired into the spicier things, and so that's one of the few places apparently that it exists that you can actually wander in, pick some up, and leave. So traditionally for me, it's going in, getting the sandwiches and the banana pudding, and then I will get the jalapeno peanut brittle for her. And so that's like her breakfast and things like that. So that's about the extent of it with. And then there are certain flavors of drinks that you buy that you can only find at Buc-ee's for some strange reason. I don't know why that is. It just might be luck of the draw. But certain energy drinks, certain flavors, you can only pick them up at Buc-ee's. And so we ended up dropping, I think, $60
Sounds about right.
on Buc-ee's. But no, we'd have to go back to shopping in actual grocery stores for me to have gamey muffins to have for breakfast, which I usually have in the 8 o'clock hour. But yeah, so Bart has already admitted. Okay, so Bart will be on Wednesday. He almost crashed the party to yell about Arsenal, but he's just going to wait until Wednesday. Abby with the public service question, wondering who's going to go to the game this Saturday. So please have your conversations and who's going and coordinate that way. No, and David, no, never settling. Never going to settle. That does not happen. We were getting into discussion about Joseph and goals scored more than DC United burned. I will never forget Ben Olsen's DC United, truly one of the worst professional soccer teams I've ever watched.
Yes.
He ain't wrong. Contributor Niall, who is keeping an eye on the Prem for us. Sorry, the Prem. Niall's analysis of the previous match week and getting us ready for FA Cup will be coming up later this week. Harry Kane's willing to stay at Spurs, according to Ornstein on Monday. Why? And Niall is laughing. I think obviously it's going to come down to investment. And and there are other things. And whenever Nick crashes for the first time this week, I want to get into the Juventus situation because that happened after the show, the morning show stopped on Friday, with Juve being docked 15 points and then probably going to be going up in front of more tribunals because of violations during COVID. So right now they're 15 points, and I think they're 10th or 11th, and now they're going to have a tribunal again in another couple of months. And so I wanted to talk to Juve and about Conte once again with Nick when he shows up this week. But it's going to come down to level of investment. How are you going to surround Harry Kane? And I've heard that, and it's been published, that if he leaves Spurs, Manchester United, leader in the clubhouse for Harry Kane. You like that as an idea?
I mean, sure. I mean, we're talking about Harry Kane leaving for 2+ years at this point.
Yes, he has.
It is the John Collins of the EPL. Sorry, Ricky. I got nothing else for you.
No, and Burns says Bayern want to sign Harry Kane, and
I want $1 million.
Yeah, exactly. And Rack says Rack has Jess and I coming. Ricky's going to be there in Chattanooga. Kefsey coming and bringing 5 to 9 Chattanoogans, originally from Georgia. So Kefsey's bringing a party.
Chattanoogans.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and Niall is asking you, Jarrett, not to give any ideas to Major League Soccer in general.
They don't need my help.
No, they've been but yeah, and to Ricky's point, you want to try to generate some buzz going into Chattanooga. So I understand that, but once again, Atlanta United and their front office always operates in quiet. They are all stop, quick, quiet.
And a lot of times, because a lot of times when we hear stuff, we get it from the other side. You get it out of South America. We haven't got it out of Europe as much. That part's been kind of tricky.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Atlanta likes to run a tight ship on that front.
Mm-hmm.
And even when we got stuff in the past, a lot of times it was Darren Eales being tongue in cheek about stuff, like when it was basically across the finish line already, and they just weren't ready to technically announce it. Like Darren would be kind of tongue in cheek, a nod, a wink, a nudge, nudge,
Yeah.
full Monty Python style. But yeah, they haven't been really doing that. So
and then when it happens, it's when it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
And Burns mentioning past the January window, that was when the Gutman move happened for Atlanta United when he was at Celtic, and so you're having all of those kinds of things. So you're looking at just because a deadline passes does not mean that you can't. And this is going to be like 9 negatives in a sentence. Just because a deadline passes doesn't mean that you can't continue operating, and we've seen that from Atlanta United in years past, and those kinds of things. Also, let's see on the board this morning. We've had some MLS transfer stuff happen. Your Quakes signed Brazilian keeper Daniel from Internacional from Serie A. Internacional Brazilian Serie A club Internacional. 28-year-old Brazilian's deal runs through 2024. Option for 25. Transfer completed using TAM. 37 shutouts, 83 matches, 74 goals against. Adding competition for JT Marcinkowski. He's been the starter the last 2+ seasons. Chris Leach had 2 sentences in the press release. If he wins the starting job over Marcinkowski, he could form a Brazilian defensive triumvirate with center backs Nathan and Rodriguez. So you could have a Brazilian triangle at the back with Luchi Gonzalez and your Quakes coming to Atlanta, February 25th at 7:30. Bottom of the Western Conference, 69 goals against last year, second most league-wide. So you've signed Daniel from Internacional in Brazil.
Okay.
FC Cincinnati signed goalkeeper Paul Walters to a homegrown deal. Inter Miami completed the permanent transfer of Leo Campagna from Wolves. Smart business for Inter Miami, considering what Leo Campagna did for them last year. And Sporting Kansas City waived Uri Rosell. Second stint with the club officially over. Signed a 2-year deal ahead of the 22 season. 1 assist, 18 appearances, 13 starts. Played for the team from 12 to 14. 2 goals, 2 assists in 43 games, helping them win MLS Cup in 2013. 2015, transferred to Sporting in Portugal. Loan spells in a couple of different places. Went to Orlando City 2018. 27 players now under contract for Sporting Kansas City. Nemanja Radoja will be their starting defensive mid as things look so far. So a couple of transactions internal here and there for Major League Soccer. And couple of things that happened in USL Championship, a couple of big names, and I know, since we follow USL Championship as much as we do, Birmingham Legion re-signed Juan Agudelo, and Tampa Bay re-signed Lucky Mkosana for his 7th season with the club in Tampa Bay. So Juan Agudelo stays. Indy 11, keep an eye on this. They acquired Aiden Quinn via transfer from Phoenix. So keep an eye on that. And we're also kind of keeping an eye on what's going on with Memphis 901. You're seeing a bunch of transactions there as Stephen Glass is assembling his roster, getting ready for the USL Championship here in 2023. So we're keeping an eye on that as well. Morning, Knicks. We have been running through a lot of stuff this morning here in hour number 1. And Jarrett, you turn into a pumpkin, yeah?
Yep.
All right. So we will see you again tomorrow. True?
That's the game plan. Sorry to run right as you're getting here next. It's not personal.
No worries. No, that's the way it's the way it always is. Just when we're getting momentum, that's when Jarrett goes. All right, we'll see you tomorrow.
That's what we do. See y'all.
All right. Jarrett Smith, everybody. And, so since it is that time, and once again, since it's Monday, it's Reaction Monday, anything on the table, whatever is on your mind this morning. So I think we're kind of all lying in wait for news out of the Premier League with Frank Lampard, meetings yesterday, no confidence from the owner. And so we'll see if Everton, my guess is that whenever it does happen and Everton sacks Lampard, Duncan Ferguson's probably going to be your caretaker, but do they give it to Dunk? And so that would be my question for you Evertonians. Who do you want? Who do you want to come in and be a part of keeping Everton from being relegated into the championship? So that's my question. Do you want it to be Big Dunk for the remainder of the season? Do you want to bring in another name? I've heard Rafa. I've heard Pochettino. I've heard a lot of different names. We'll get into it in hour number 2 also. But, so we'll keep an eye on that. And we've got Monday Night Football coming up a little later on. We'll get into all your juice boxes and your previews. Once again, anything else that's on your mind this morning. And that's what Mondays are for. Reaction Monday, catching up on everything that we might have missed coming up on the weekend or when the show is over. And then we're having to sit there and go, okay, well, we got to talk about that, got to talk about that, got to talk about that. So whatever's on your mind as we go here in hour number 2 here this morning. So since it is getting close to the top of the hour, it is that time where we drop a promo. And since I didn't have my copy with me last week, I was kind of having to do promos off the top of my head. Okay, we'll get into that, Ricky. But I mean, the short answer is all of them. But we'll get into it here in just a sec. But let me get into the music, and as always, bring it down to 19 because I believe that was the acceptable level. And take it out of loop and hit the word rock, and here we go. That is kind of loud. Maybe it's my hand. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go, and it's Lemonized Service. Deodorized exposed places like houses, apartments, and condos. Created a customized solution to the Lemonized solid organic odor. There we go. Take it number 15. It was loud in my ear. Lemonized Service created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use a Lemonized Service to eliminate the bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. Yeah, it was weird, Nick. Normally it's at 19, and it just came out louder. That's why we're down to like 13. Turnkey process makes it easy to work with said realtors and property managers, kind of the environment a very green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or our favorite masking agents that we have either under the sink or above us in the cupboard, because when we reach under the sink or above us in the cupboard, grab said masking agent and spray it in the air. There's a reason they call it a masking agent. It's because it masks the odor. It doesn't attack the issue all the way down to the molecule like our friends at Eliminize do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy, one of two ways. Either buy the cubic foot or parts per million to come up with a price that's affordable for you. Offering results in 24 hours or less. And if you have any other questions, I got the QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. But you can go to their website, and this is where audience participation comes in handy. It's Eliminize.com, but go /Atlanta after the .com, so folks know what part of the world from Eliminize that you are asking them to help them attack your problems. So your full homework assignment, this is where I grab my pen, ELIMINIZE.com/Atlanta, Eliminize.com/Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH. As we start season number 6, or season number 7. I think it's season 7, because if you're 6 years old, you start season 7. So we're starting season 7 of Soccer's Morning Show here. And we literally cannot thank you guys enough for being a part of everything when it comes to everything that we've been building. So that's your promo read. And Abby did go to the supporters conference, and Nick's apparently has an extra ticket for the game in Chattanooga. So Nick's has an extra. So if anybody needs to go, you can go with Nick's and go hang out with everybody. Abby was out there last week, and we have yet to get a full report from Abby about what went down at the ISC in New Mexico. But we will get any notes from her. Okay, so as a part of hour number 2, your favorite moment or moments from being a part of SDH. Since Ricky has posed the question for me, I will pose it to you as well. Favorite moments from being a part of SDH, whether it's the morning show, 1v1s, live stuff, remotes, all those kinds of things as we start season 7. And frankly, Ricky, you ask me this, and I'm going to phrase it this way. To be able to see this grow where it is Discord and you guys are having conversations with each other and you're you're spending time. You're spending time independent from the show with each other, the community that you've gotten to know over time. When we've had end of year parties and we got to kind of catch up with all of you. Those, for me, it's been able to see this grow and see all of you work the way that it has, and just in growing growing the game in and of itself, being able to tell the stories that we've been able to do. And I know that a guy like Darren Van Tassel at South Georgia Tormenta has been one of those stories that we have followed since the beginning, because, and Darren will tell you this, that when you get to walk the same steps together, and you've seen where, and this was an unintentional mention of Darren Van Tassel wearing the USL League One Finals pullover sweatshirt from last season when they beat Chattanooga. To be able to see a Tormenta grow where it is, as they've won a women's title and a men's title, and the first time ever in U.S. soccer history that's happened in a season, in a calendar year. To be able to tell the stories of each of the teams and each of these groups as they grow and all of their interests and things like that. Whether it's everybody in USL League One hanging out in Greenville, interviewing John Harkes for 1v1s, having them live on the show. Chattanooga and the growth that's been there. Tormenta, the growth that's been there. Everything in USL League One, all the USL Championship stuff, all the 1v1s that we've had the opportunity to do, all the great stories we've been able to tell and share that we wouldn't have had the outlet for otherwise. All of the remotes, obviously, they have their own special place. And all of the live events that we do, high school games of the week, to see the be there with the interaction with the fans at those games too. It's always been fun. So for me, just in general, to see this grow and continue to grow, and there's more growing to do, and to have you guys here as a part of it and continue to share in the growth and be a part of the process. That for me is it's part of the more rewarding things that have been going through. Abby mentions the ISC, unseasonably cold, trying to get her notes together, get us an update. Got a puppy yesterday after returning. Coco, I would agree. In the fever dream that is soccer over there, where literally we're talking about what's going on overseas. We have the picks of the week, and you end up also with the education there. Once again, it's a part of the process where we're finding out about all of these different leagues and all these different teams, and Burmese Premier League for picks of the week with the Twitch pitch and those kinds of things. Yeah, exactly. Give them the shine they deserve. Absolutely, Coco. The soccer over there bedlam that resulted from a mascot deep dive. Yeah, and so what we probably need to do is probably have some kind. Well, as we continue to grow and sort things through. Yeah, the soccer over there bedlam. We probably should do that on Fridays. Is have the picks of the week and mascot deep dives and things like that. Try to figure out somehow to have a program that's not on Friday mornings, because it's weekend whip around material. But we got to figure out ways to do that. Ricky, being part of this community has been one of the best things in my life, Ricky. That is tremendous. So many friends and connections through the show, grown my knowledge of the game. Still follow the Twitter account with the mascots, as you should, sir. Best soccer friends are from SDH. Absolutely. Burn, of course. Favorite moments when Jason kicks me off the feed for repeated chants of Friday. I got to bring that back as a drop. Some of the weird South American mascots walk out tunnels, reminiscing about watching Maradona games. Ricky at Mondo Mascots. So at Mondo Mascots is where we need to go to continue to follow that stuff. All right. So other news that we have here, we got gossip, rumor, and innuendo and things left unsaid that we will get into. And so here's your gossip for the day as we get into who's going where and who might not be going anywhere. West Ham's Declan Rice leaning towards joining Arsenal in the summer. Chelsea, Manchester United also expected to compete for his signature. That's from The Guardian. We mentioned this once again. This is from The Telegraph. Farhad Mashiri said talks with the club's board about Lampard's future possible replacements. The four-letter paper. Former Burnley manager Sean Dyche is not under consideration for the job at Goodison Park. Aston Villa remain hopeful of completing a deal for Marseille midfielder Matteo Guendouzi. Bart, you can tell everybody about Guendouzi before the transfer deadline. Chelsea still have an interest in Moises Caicedo despite having a £55 million bid rejected by Brighton. Wolves have told Liverpool they have no intention of selling Ruben Neves this month. Spurs. Antonio Conte's contract expires this summer while he's not been offered a new deal. He has asked Spurs to put it on standby because he doesn't want to think about his future at the moment. We talked about that with Nick last week. And it seems now we are to this point where Conte does not even want to talk about a contract extension. So next time Nick is up, we'll get into this a little more. Leandro Trossard's agent says Spurs were in talks to sign him before he joined Arsenal, but Arsenal were more decisive in securing the move. Spanish winger Brian Gill, believed to be one of three players Spurs are offering Roma as a part of a swap for Zaniolo. Roma manager Jose Mourinho thinks Zaniolo may not leave because the offers for the player are, quote, unworthy of him or the club, end quote, from our friends at Football Italia. Roma have made initial contact with Chelsea winger Hakim Ziyech's agent, could make a move for the 29-year-old if they sell Zaniolo. Everton also want to bring in Ziyech to help them try to stave off relegation. Four-letter paper is saying that they would prefer to have him sign on loan with a view to making the move permanent if they stay up. Toffees also hope to complete the loan signing of Arnaud Danjuma from Villarreal later today. Everton also considering a move for a £15 million move for Sheffield United Senegalese striker Iliman Ndiaye. That's from the three-letter paper, so take that information at your own peril. Sheffield United right now, second in the championship. They're in one of the automatic promotion spots. Do you sell a striker, considering where you are in the standings right now and what you're trying to accomplish? I would bet yes that everybody has a price, but at the same time, Sheffield United is trying to stay in one of those automatic promotion spots. Manchester United have joined PSG in the chase for 17-year-old Brazilian Vitor Roque, who has a £52 million release clause in his Atletico Paranaense contract. That's from Gazeta dello Sport. Forest looking at bringing in Keylor Navas, with England's Dean Henderson facing a spell-out injured, although Bournemouth and Leicester also interested in the Costa Ricans. So Jarrett's words right there. So we'll keep an eye. Now, once again, all right, 4-card. Let's see. Let's see if we have it. We're getting there. Sport Bible, as of 6 minutes ago, via the forward paper, has Everton sacking Frank Lampard. So we'll keep an eye. We'll keep an eye on that. So as of, all right, so it looks like, all right, so let me go to Sky really quickly and see what we've got. Let's see if it has in fact happened. Expected to be sacked, still on the front page of Sky. Sport Bible is reporting that Lampard has been sacked. But now you have others who are saying, and once again, folks who don't have, that are not tier one sourcing. So we'll see what's going on and keep an eye on it. But Sport Bible is reporting that Frank Lampard has been sacked. Once again, we'll keep an eye on that as we go. All right. So once again, we'll keep an eye on that as it's continuing to roll this morning. But yeah, so some folks are reporting it, and so we'll see what happens with Frank Lampard. Is it Tuchel? Is it Pochettino? Is it Rafa? Is it Dunk? Let me know. All right. So we'll keep an eye on that this morning because it seems to be developing and picking up some steam. So we'll keep an eye on that this morning. Since we were talking about Everton. Nottingham Forest and Keylor Navas. That's interesting. That's from Mundo Deportivo. Leicester City showing a strong interest in Brazilian winger Tete, who's on loan at Lyon from Shakhtar Donetsk. Everton and the Forest also have the 22-year-old in their sights. That is four-letter paper. Fox is also planning fresh talks with Stoke this week over a deal for Harry Sutar after an initial bid for the defender was rejected. Barca happy with Spain defender Marcos Alonso's performance and plan to hold talks about extending his deal once the January transfer window closes. Inter Milan interested in signing Chris Smalling on a free. 33-year-old's contract at Roma runs out in the summer, but has the option of being extended by a year. Stefan de Vrij's agent says Inter Milan have contacted him about extending the 30-year-old's contract, which runs out in the summer. That's from Rai Sport. Burnley are in the final stages of talks as they look to bring in 22-year-old South African striker Lyle Foster from Westerlo in Belgium, knowing the connections that Vincent Kompany has going into the Belgian market, not necessarily a surprise. Also in the transfer center this morning, Fulham remain in talks over the signing of Arsenal defender Cedric Suarez. Negotiations continue with his reps. It is a difficult deal to do, according to Sky. Fulham looking at alternatives if they can't get the deal over the line. So we've got 9 days left in the window. Remember, Leicester still want to sign a right winger and a center back after signing Victor Christensen from FC Copenhagen. You've got for Manchester United looking at right back, but Aaron Wan-Bissaka's improvement in form and run. It seems that they've cooled in that position, would consider loan offers for Elanga and Facundo Pellistri. Reports about McTominay and Maguire potentially leaving this month, but those are going nowhere. Liverpool, once again, chasing Moises Caicedo, keeping an eye on that. Barcelona planning a move for talented Israeli midfielder Oscar Gluck, was a star at the Euros, reportedly attracting interest from the likes of Monaco and Borussia Dortmund. Wolves waiting to hear back from Flamengo over the potential signing of midfielder Joao Gomez. Agreed with a Brazilian club with Flamengo last week. Player was set to arrive in the UK. Then Lyon trumped the offer to 17 million euro. Understood that Gomez wants to go to Molineux, but the Wolves are reluctant to raise the offer, given that they had the agreement right there at 17. You mentioned Fresneda, D. Graham. I can give you one more. Newcastle's priority remains development talent as a backup to Kieran Trippier at right back, and they're one of the clubs interested in Fresneda now as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. They also have long-term targets in the summer, younger group. They've been making inquiries about PSG's Edouard Michou, who's on loan at Sunderland, along with RB Leipzig. Forest remain in the market for as many as 2 new additions, including the 20-plus that they already have, despite Chris Wood and Danilo arriving this month. And remember, once again, we talked about Keylor Navas. Keep an eye on that because of the injury to Dean Henderson. Man City working on a deal for Villa Sarsfield's Maxime Perron, and that remains one of their top targets. Leeds interested in signing a young Portuguese center back, Diogo Monteiro, currently playing for Swiss side Servette, and is a Portugal U19 international at the age of 17. 7 appearances for Servette so far this season. Tottenham remain interested in Sporting Lisbon wingback Pedro Porro and Zaniolo, and Sporting have been insisting on them paying, meaning Spurs, the full, basically £40 million release clause up front. Roma on Zaniolo not keen to simply loan him out, preferring to sell outright for $35 million or include a firm obligation to buy at that price. Now, West Ham sealed Danny Ings. You got the cameo from him on the weekend. They're still chasing after Terem Moffi at Lorient. They would accept West Ham's offer at 25, but the player is undecided about the move. Danjuma set to join Everton in the next 24 hours, despite uncertainty over the managerial situation. Lampard played a key role in the deal. Fabio Silva wants a move to PSV Eindhoven, pushing to end his loan spell at Anderlecht. And so we'll keep an eye on that. Now let's see if there's anybody else. Wolves snapped up Greg Dawson, Josip Juranovic to Union Berlin. No Maguire or Wan-Bissaka exit in January, according to Manchester United. So we've got all of that stuff that we're looking at here so far, and continuing with all the conversations this morning. Michael Head. It's great to have you a hybrid from Office HD, so we can have our conversations as we are walking our pets as we run into each other. And Abby, hanging with all you guys and gals regularly is wonderful. Hope there are more in-person gatherings for us to hang and talk soccer. Definitely. Chris Richards, by the way, well done at Crystal Palace. Last 2 appearances we've been able to watch on television, doing really well. The OG, SOT on Monday nights, epic. Totally informal, chaotic, tipsy, and loose. Perfect way to end a Monday. That's what we were looking for SOT. SDH communities like my soccer family, sometimes dysfunctional, but I'll fight anyone who goes after my peeps. Love you very much. Very, very cool. Like I said, 4-card, we're keeping an eye on that. D. Graham, if you were where would you pick if you're Fresneda? Arsenal, Dortmund, now Newcastle. So we'll see. Fresneda's got some choices, and that's what you want. Arsenal, see, and D. Graham, that's the thing with Fresneda, playing time. Do you want to continue? Do you want to play? Do you want to play regularly, or do you just want to be a part of something? I think, and Fresneda, Newcastle would have him as a part of the build in the future to be there to back up Kieran Trippier. Would he get moments at Arsenal? Would he get playing time? Would he get a lot of playing time? That's the thing. Do you want to be a part of something that you know that you're chasing after? I mean, Arsenal would be right now Premier League title chasers, number one. Dortmund, with that there. Now Newcastle apparently is in the mix. Newcastle, do you want to be a part of a build that's more of a longer term, probably getting into European play this season? That's the key. What are you hunting for? Michael had about Lampard. Loved Super Frankie as a player. As a manager, has been dealt some bad hands. Not sure of his next move. I don't know. That's a good question. How did the term sacked in soccer come to be? All right, so we're going to the Google machine, Nix. And yeah, okay. So, all right. Maddening similarities. QB is sacked, failed to throw a pass. Means okay. Equivalent in Europe is different in a lot of ways. Essentially, it's exactly the same. This is from our friends at soccerfeed.net. At its heart, the term sacked in the EPL normally refers to abject humiliation for a team coach. It means a severance of the contract that ties the team to the coach to the club itself. It leaves the club without a person at the steering wheel. It's a signal that the club has zero confidence in the manager's ability to rectify any problems that are occurring. And for coaches, it's a mark against their name difficult to scrub off, and there are a myriad of reasons why it happens. Let's see. We need the origin of the term. Origin of the term. Okay, so that didn't help. We're looking for the origin of the term sack. Not Deacon Jones with sack. Why is it sack? Why is it a sack in football? So there, you got folks asking about sack, and what does the term sacked mean in soccer? All right, how did the term sacked in soccer come to be? Okay, so what does sack mean in soccer? Same article, same. So we get like Deacon Jones, and we get like. I know, Nix, that's the question. Okay, so here's your question. For those of you who are better at searching the Google machine than I am, how did this come to be? How did this come to be? Why are they sacked? And yes, puppies take priority, Abby, no question. Okay, so Nix, according to Brewers, workmen carried their tools with them from job to job in a sack or a bag, and when the laborer was dismissed, he took up his sack and left, hence he was sacked or given the sack. Okay, thank you. Excellent. And okay, so it looks like Yakamakis. So, all right. So Uncle has Urawa Red Diamonds. And I know that this is incredibly all right. So Urawa Red Diamonds. Okay, so as of 30 minutes ago in the Glasgow Times, looks like earlier this morning, set to leave the Premiership champions for Urawa Red Diamonds in the J League 3.5 million pounds. And that was the discussion that we were having in hour number 1, Unc. Bringing in O, believed to have been granted permission to travel to Glasgow to complete his move to Celtic. Oh Hyun-ju. So O coming in, that meant that Giakoumakis wasn't getting any playing time. And so it looks like at 3.5 is what we're looking at here. All right, so we'll keep an eye. Nothing official from Urawa Red Diamonds in this case. So we'll keep an eye, but it looks like, according to, let's see, so Reds official, they're not following anybody, by the way. And all they're posting is training photos. So at Reds official in all caps, that's Urawa Red Diamonds. That's their Twitter account. Nothing official from Urawa Red Diamonds, but Glasgow Times is reporting that it looks like 3.5 million pounds. Then O comes in, Giakoumakis goes to Urawa Red Diamonds, but until something is officially official, get him to sign on the line that is dotted. Always be BC closing. That's the way it always is for me. Always be closing. Always be closing. 3.5 million pounds. Giakoumakis to Urawa Red Diamonds, according to Glasgow Evening Times. Keep an eye on that. So once again, at Reds official on Twitter, 450,000 followers. That's the Urawa Red Diamonds official account. So we'll keep an eye on that. So 3.5 million. No, I think I don't know if Urawa. Well, it's the newspaper Glasgow Times, so we'll see. Well, and we'll get into Memphis in just a sec, D. Graham. I mean, I think you can say here we go as long as you do it. I'm fairly certain that Fabrizio Romano has done if he's done the proper thing where he's done the proper service marks and trademarks and things like that. That you can do a bit of a wink and a nod to here we go, but not anything official on the Evan Payton article from Glasgow Times. But once again, you look at Evan Pates. You look at Evan Pates, and he's only got 300 followers. So once again, all of this stuff that you're staring at. Let me see how many followers the Glasgow Times has. So I don't want to retweet the article, but what I want to do is check and see how many followers the Glasgow Times has. So your Glasgow Times articles, Glasgow Times, 95,000 followers, but the sports reporter Ewan Pates, has only 300. So we'll see what happens. So we'll keep an eye, Uncle, on that. D. Graham, I mean, it comes down to fit and salary, as it is in all these situations. I don't know if Memphis wants to come to Major League Soccer. From all indications, he wanted to stay in Europe from everything hanging around. I don't even think that the MLS would be any kind of a consideration for a guy like Memphis. So I've never seen that come up in any conversation involving Memphis whatsoever that he had any interest in Major League Soccer. But, Depay leaving Barca. Barca needs to pay the bills, and I know that they need whatever money they can get their hands on to pay the bills. So we'll see what you're staring at when it comes to that. But once again, keep an eye on Urawa Red Diamonds and their thoughts. Glasgow Times reporting this morning that it's 3.5 million pounds for him to go to Urawa Red Diamonds. We'll keep an eye on Giakoumakis and his future. But yeah, D. Graham, literally, I never saw anything involving any kind of a move to Major League Soccer in any conversation from Memphis or any of his representatives. So might not have even been on his radar. He wants to stay in Europe because you're talking family. You're talking wanting to keep stuff close to home. You think you can make an impact one place or another. And Memphis has always done it in the European theater. Like I said, I don't think I've ever seen anything. I could be wrong, but I've never seen anything involving Memphis and anything in the States or Major League Soccer. So obviously we'll keep an eye on that. We'll keep an eye on Giakoumakis and see what's going on there. Also, a couple of other things before we go. We've got to get into what is on the tube today. We'll get into that and get into your juice boxes as well. It's a pretty decent day with what's going on here. Turkish Super League is going on, and that's on at noon. Fenerbahce is playing on BN and BN Espanol. You can pick that up with our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Get you in the door, and it helps out the show as well when it comes to anything and everything that Fanatis airs. I got hooked, and so it's a great outlet for a whole lot of stuff that's going on in soccer. Also, USA, 3 o'clock, Fulham and Spurs. And your simulcast is on Telemundo and Universo. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. Get you into the juice boxes in just a little bit. La Liga, Valencia, Almeria is at 3 o'clock. Fox Deportes says the Coupe de France, 6th division side. Pai de Cassel going up against PSG at 2:45. It's going to be a day that makes that franchise. Liga MX Femenil doubleheader on Fox Deportes tonight. Monterrey, Mazatlan, Santos Laguna, Guadalajara. ESPN Plus has Valencia, Almeria at 3 o'clock. And Paramount Plus has your doubleheader in Serie A, Bologna, Cremonese, and Inter and Empoli. Now, getting into juice boxes before we go and other news that's come across. And if there's anything else that's on your mind as we go, before we go. In the afternoon, you've got Premier League, you've got Netherlands. We've kind of pushed our way into Europe by this point. A lot of the lower divisions have Monday Night Football going on in England. Coupe de France, by the way, PSG's a minus 5,000 against Pai de Cassel. 245, Inter a minus 357, hosting Empoli at a plus 1040. Aberdeen playing Darvel in the Scottish Cup. Keep an eye on this one. If there's any kind of a hiccup involving Jim Goodwin, he might be given the sack. Aberdeen at Darvel at 245 is a minus 833. Spurs on the road at Craven Cottage, a plus 114. Fulham's a plus 225. Valencia at 3 o'clock is a minus 159, hosting Almeria at a plus 457. You've got some friendlies. You've got South America kicking in later this afternoon. Liga MX Femenil. Toluca is on the minus side, a minus 118, hosting Querétaro at 6. Juice Boxers are throwing a blanket over León and Pumas, both within the margin of error around plus 145 at 6:05. Also at 8:06, Monterrey, large favorite at home against Mazatlan at a minus 33-33. Liga premieres at 9 o'clock. And Santos Laguna Chivas is on the women's side at Liga MX Femenils at 10:06. Chivas is a minus 286 on the board at Santos Laguna, who is a plus 565. Speaking of women's soccer, one other story that wanted to get into before we go from Suzanne Rack over at The Guardian. This past weekend, 3 of Sunday's WSL games were called off due to frozen pitches. Chelsea's manager is calling for undersoil heating across the WSL. Chelsea and Liverpool players condemned the merry-go-round of decision-making. This is Rack's wording. That led to Chelsea's match against Liverpool being postponed 6 minutes into the game due to a frozen pitch that Emma Hayes described as being like an ice rink. Pitch inspection at 9:30 in the morning at Kingsmeadow deemed the pitch at Chelsea's home ground was unplayable. Covers put across the pitch, heaters directed at it in an attempt to thaw it prior to warm-up, judged unusable, although Chelsea moved to a different area of the pitch for their warm-up as players slipped and skidded across the frozen ground after kick. The referee, Neil Hare, called a stop to proceedings, went into discussion with both teams before suspending play. Millie Bright in a tweet, on every front today was unacceptable. We demand more for our game. Do better, in all caps. Thank you to all the traveling fans and apologies for today. Fran Kirby, players' safety should always be the number one priority. Luckily, no one was injured today. The right decision was taken eventually. Women's football deserves better. We won't stop fighting to make that happen. Emma Hayes after the match on BBC Two. You could see from the opening minutes it was like an ice rink down the sides. It's not for managers to decide if it's on. It's up to the FA and officials. The game should never have started. Everyone wanted to get the game on, but when you've got emotions of teams wanting or not wanting to play, that's when you need a decision from above. The FA weren't here. They need to be making the decision. She called for undersoil heating to be the norm, call echoed by fans and players on social media. And then WSL spokesperson, quote, we worked hard with the clubs and the match officials to safely play the WSL fixture between Chelsea and Liverpool. Following inspections before the match, pitch was deemed playable by the matchday referee. However, shortly after kickoff, the ref made the decision to abandon the match in order to protect the safety of the players, which is paramount. We sincerely apologize to all fans who traveled to the match. Fixtures rescheduled in due course. Game at Kingsmeadow was one of 3 to be called off. Spurs against Leicester at Brisbane Road. Brighton's match against Arsenal at Crawley Town's Broadfield Stadium also postponed. One other thing, still keeping an eye out on the possible, yep, it's official. Okay. Everton has sacked Frank Lampard. Sky now has reported it, so it is now officially official. Frank Lampard sacked after less than a year in charge, leaves Everton in 19th place, level on points with Southampton, who won at Goodison 2-1 on the 14th. Followed Everton owner Farhad Moshiri is attending his first match since October of 21 as they lost at London Stadium, their 3rd straight defeat in league. Arrived in January 22, helped the club avoid the drop last season. 15 points, 20 matches, 3 wins, the worst victory record in the division. Everton fans protested against the club's hierarchy as Jared Bowen's double led the team to the loss, but the board have instead responded by dismissing Lampard. Speaking to Sky after the loss, Farhad Moshiri said, "It's not my decision," when asked if Lampard's time was up, while the head coach insisted he remained focused on the future. Paul Merson told Soccer Saturday he didn't believe Lampard had lost commitment of the players, but questioned the quality of the players at Lampard's disposal. And so that's the next 6 fixtures. Home to Arsenal, and that is in 2 weeks. Remember, this is an upcoming FA Cup weekend. 13th at Liverpool, 18th home to Leeds, 25th home to Villa, March 4th at Forest, and then March 11th at home to Brentford. So Frank Lampard sacked by Everton. So now who do they bring in? That is the question. Who does Everton bring in for the remainder of the season? Do they promote Big Dunk and have him try to make a run? Who do they bring in? That's the next big question. So obviously we'll be talking about that on Prim and Proper as we go this week, and we'll let you know as things continue to evolve there as well. So Frank Lampard sacked by Everton. That's the news this morning. We kind of anticipated, but it is now officially official. Frank Lampard is now gone as head coach with Everton. Once again, looks like Giorgio Giacomakis headed to Urawa Red Diamonds, according to the Glasgow Times. Keeping an eye on that at £3.5 million until something happens on the team account with Urawa. It is still in play. So nothing's officially official until you see the player hovering over the contract, looking up at the camera with pen in hand, ready to sign. So we'll keep an eye on that. Do any of the other teams that are interested in Giacomakis boost their bids? That's what we're looking at going down. Also, Lyon owner John Textor said that he doesn't like the multi-club structure label. He was talking with Lyon's media team. He doesn't like that to describe his financial involvement in football, specifically the ownership of Lyon. He owns Crystal Palace, co-owner Crystal Palace, as well as majority shareholder Botafogo and Molenbeek in Belgium. We're called a multi-club because there's no other word for what we do. He argues that the goal of the ownership is to create synergies and aim to, quote, become more efficient, save money, get joint sponsor deals, and what Textor labels merger mentality. He went on to say, "That's not me. That's not why I did this," arguing he sees collaboration between clubs as a supplement for competitive strategy, and finishes off his statement by referring to fans not caring about other clubs owned by Eagle Football. Quote, "If fans in Lyon say they don't care about football in Brazil, that's totally fine. They want to only be interested in their team in France, then they can and should continue to feel this way." So John Textor doesn't like the idea of being referred to as a multi-club model. And so we'll see what continues to go there. Manchester United explored the possibility of signing Griezmann last summer to gauge possibility of his interest. So we'll see what continues to roll on here. We're 9 days short of the window, and we'll continue to see how it continues to evolve here toward the finish, and checking all other news as we go. So yeah, as of 12 minutes ago, well, as of, let's see, what's 3:38? So as earlier this morning. So Chris Bascom at the Telegraph, Everton has sacked Frank Lampard. So we'll keep an eye on that. Chelsea's going to bid for Lyon's right back Gusto as their spending is now nearing $500 million. Keep an eye on that. And obviously, we'll talk about the Premier League later this week. Bart Keeler will be joining us to talk about his beloved Arsenal at the top of the table and other things going on as we go. Once again, reminder, Indiana Vassilev, the 1v1 with him. We're taping that this afternoon. That'll be up short order. So something for your afternoon viewing, or afternoon listening, is our 1v1 with Indiana Vassilev. Now it's St. Louis City SC. The week, as we know, we're tracking down some other interviews as we go. Prim and Proper with both Niall and contributor Niall and myself. That should be coming out on Tuesday. We've got Bart Keeler coming on Wednesday to talk about everything that he does. Hopefully Dylan Butler can join us if there aren't any press conferences that prevent him from working his way through on Thursday. Thursdays with Nico will be coming up on Thursday, and our friends from Beyond Goals will be showing up on Friday as well with everything else that's going on here in the league. So happy birthday to us. Season 7 of the Soccer's Morning Show and everything else that goes on here at the SDH Network starts today. Thanks to all of you guys for being a part of it. Thanks for helping us grow. Thanks for spreading the word. Thanks for being there with us as we've continued to tell the stories of everything going on in the world of soccer, whether it's here at the morning show, whether it's afternoon shows, things that pop up, live events, games, all these kinds of things that we've done. So thanks to all of you guys for hanging out with us as we go. And we will be back at it again tomorrow. And we will start season 7 of Soccer's Morning Show here. 9:05, Jarrett Smith, Nick Alifi, and myself. And Jason, I think, is set to join us in a guest form when we get into soccer season. So we got a lot of stuff coming on. We got a lot of growing coming on. But thanks to all of you guys for being a part here at SDH as we continue to grow here in season 7. Yes, absolutely, Rich. Yeah, Wayne Rooney to Everton officially on the clock. Actually, so that's a good thing. So before we go, so sack race. So let's see. Wayne Rooney was the odds-on favorite to take over full-time. Next Everton manager odds. Sean Dyche was listed at 3-1, but he is not, according to some newspapers, a part of the deal. 5-4, 3-1. Bielsa, I don't see that happening. 3-1, 6-1. David Moyes, don't see that happening. Wayne Rooney would be the one that makes the most sense at 13-2 or 8-1. Sam Allardyce, that's a laugh. And then Nuno Espirito Santo was another one that was looked at. I was like, wow, okay, you want Nuno? That's Big Dunk is right now 3, 6, 7. It's 16-1, 5-2. Graham Potter, no. Carlos Corberán, currently at West Brom, no. I think he's building them. Leighton Baines, 16-1, no. Ange Postecoglou, I know that Jarrett's ears are now officially burning at 20-1, 25-1. Lucien Favre, Brendan Rodgers, Domenico Tedesco from Leipzig, Hassan Hutel, who was at Southampton, Pochettino, Kjetil Knutsen from Bodo Glimt, and others as you go. So we'll see what happens there when it comes to who's the new boss at Everton. But yeah, Wayne Rooney on the clock as we go forward. Thanks once again to all of you guys hanging out with us. As Everton now finds a manager, you've got Monday night football, Monday afternoon football for those of us here in the States at 3 o'clock, Fulham and Spurs. We'll keep an eye on that. We'll be back at it again tomorrow as season 7 for Soccer's Morning Show is underway and will continue to grow. Once again, thanks to all of you guys for hanging out with us. We'll be back at it tomorrow. And since it is the end of the show, that means I get to do this. We'll be back at it 9:05 tomorrow. Thanks again, everybody. Play it safe. Mucha plata, y'all. We'll see you Tuesday.